Hey YouTube, Craig Campbell here, and like and subscribe as always if you're enjoying the content that I'm bringing to you. I have a very different video today, and it's about being a caregiver and having elderly parents, and it directly affects me and my sister, and that's why we did this video, because we actually have a mom that is currently suffering from dementia. Just want to talk about it today. And I actually have to go, so I'm going to continue this video in the car. So clicking over to the video in the car. We're going to be talking about caregiving and the financial impact as a caregiver. Because caring for elderly parents, well, there's a significant responsibility that many of us have to undertake. In a 2019 survey, it was revealed that about 14% of Canadians that are living with a parent, or sometimes not, they anticipate financially supporting their parents, and that will lead them to postpone their retirement. Think about that. You've saved all these years for your retirement, hoping for a great retirement to vacation in all different exotic places, and now you have to postpone your retirement because you got to take care of your parents. It's a tough place to be. Now, going further, about 12% expect it will prevent them from paying off their debt. I was happy to be a guest on this podcast with my sister, as we are both directly affected as caregivers of our mother, who is in the late stages of dementia, but still at home. Well, anyway, check out this video and maybe it could be relevant to your situation or somebody that you know. Stay tuned.
Hi everyone, my name is Valine. For those of you who are new on the page, welcome to all our new people. I'm so glad to see that so many of you are joining us. Clearly there is a need, and that's what we are trying to fulfill. I too am a caregiver, so I am directly in contact and in communication with everything that is surrounding caregiver and the loved one, who's living with dementia. I will also, of course, be sharing some of my personal experiences. I will also be, hi, Craig. There you go. There's the invitation. Just accept the invitation. Okay, perfect. I'm sorry, Craig. I'm having issues. It's saying unable to add guests. They can't be added to your broadcast while a user. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Oh, finally, we
All
did
right.
it.
Yeah, it looks like it's different for the
Yeah.
computer.
Yeah, I can't seem to figure that one out. It's been a while, so that's what it's about.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I was just sharing for people. We had a couple of new members that joined us today, and we just wanted to welcome them. We're a growing group, and people are here because there's obviously a need in what we're
There's a need.
discussing.
Mhm.
Yeah, and having this support system. I was sharing just before you popped on that I'm not coming as a voice of an expert. I'm coming as a voice of someone who is also going through the caregiver journey, as you are, as my brother, my older brother. And
Mhm.
especially at the beginning of this, when we first learned about mom's diagnosis, it was I think we had to spend a lot of time grappling with the idea that this is what it was, because I remember you always used to say for many years, we were like, wow, we're so blessed. Mom and dad have not even spent a day in the hospital.
It's
They have
true.
been
Very healthy.
so healthy, and thank
Mhm.
God in all of these years, mom was always high energy, very active, a fast walker. I remember the times when we would go for a walk. She would be, I
Can
would
you
be
keep up?
telling, so yeah, no, really. I'd be like, slow down, mom, and I'm coming behind her. But it took time to understand that, but then the journey takes a lot of twists and turns along the way, because we're also learning as we go. And with each stage we've known now and we've seen now, dementia changes over time.
It does.
It's progressive, and as it progresses, we have to continue to adjust even after when we get a little comfortable. We're like, okay, we found a rhythm now, but then it keeps going. So
Mhm.
I thought it would be wonderful to bring you on because we are sharing our stories, but we're also bringing the voice of the expert in different realms of caregiver and the different ways that we're actually impacted. And one thing that I know that is common across the board, a lot of people speak about their finances
Yeah.
when it comes to caregiving. It's an uphill battle. Just to share, we have people from the US who are here, so their healthcare system is a little different than
It
ours,
is.
but at the same time, there are challenges because it's either we might not know about the resources that are there to offset some of the costs. We might not be told about them. We don't know how to balance our resources or balance our finances because our schedules, our work schedules sometimes change, especially if you're the primary caregiver. So, as the finance guru that you are, I I want to have ask you a few questions to address the caregiving aspect of this. How do we stay? First of all, introduce yourself if you don't mind, and then we'll get into some of our questions.
Sure. Well, for those that don't know, I am, because you already kind of mentioned it, the older brother of Valine Campbell. My name is Craig Campbell. I am a financial coach.
Mhm,
And I work generally with professionals, people managing their money and maybe having challenges in terms of managing the money and
mhm,
helping them not only manage their money, but without any drastic changes to their lifestyle,
mhm,
right? A lot of times when we think of it, we haven't really learned, we're never taught how to manage our money. We just like make the money and somehow everything will kind of figure itself out.
mhm,
And for the most part, that's not the case. And it doesn't matter how much you make. There's some people, I have clients making like around 60,000 a year. I have people making 200,000 a year. And in some cases, they're in the same place. The
mhm.
one making
Interesting.
200,000 just has more toys, but the
Mm,
issues are the same,
they say more
right?
money, more
So more
problems.
money, more problems. It's actually a true thing. So,
Mm,
but with consistency and having a plan and strategy behind it, that's how you get your finances in order. And
mhm,
yes, I'm here. Of course, as Valine, as you had said, just learning about the challenges sometimes. Like you have a lot of people have challenges in their finances just by
mhm,
itself, but now you have the added issue of having being a child or sorry a caregiver and taking care of a parent, and now there's all of a sudden an extra weight in terms or extra strain on your
mhm.
finances. So how do you deal with all those things? So
Yeah.
so I'm here to maybe talk about a couple different insights that might be able to help you in your journey.
Well, thanks for that, Craig. Well, let's we've killed a lot of time here, but we're gonna just go through some of the questions. And one we'll start with what are some of the biggest financial challenges that caregivers face? Is this if you can perhaps try to tie both US and Canada, if not, then maybe you can
Oh yeah.
give a couple for each side. Mm-hmm.
Well, just about wherever you are, the challenges are going to be pretty similar. Like there's increased expenses. I mean, you have your own expenses. All of a sudden now you have medical bills, you have home modifications that you
Oh
have to
yeah.
take care of. There's
Oh my goodness.
transportation, getting your parent back and
Yeah.
forth. A lot of times we're trying to do things on our own. So we say no to help, even though help might be available, whether it be a friend, a neighbor, other
Mm-hmm.
family members. So that's a challenge. Lost income, because if you're a caregiver, you're now reducing your hours of work, right? So you're not
Mm-hmm.
working as often, you're not bringing in as much money. And some people, it's not a challenge as much because they're salaried employees. But if you
Mm-hmm.
are working by the hour, if you're not there, you're not making money. And that
Mm-hmm.
could be a challenge for a lot of people. You're
Mm-hmm.
also looking at your retirement impact. Like if you're investing money each and every month or quarter or year for your own retirement, and all of a sudden now you have these added expenses, well, now there's a choice to make. I won't be
Oh
able to
wow.
invest as much
Yeah.
now because I have these extra bills. And the other big thing, one of the challenges, and this is something that's not talked about, even though it's in the news almost every day, and
Mm-hmm.
that's financial scams. There's so many
Oh,
scams out there, and they're
yeah.
really, really focused and targeting the elderly. And
Mm-hmm.
that could be
Mm-hmm.
fraudulent investment schemes. It could
Mm-hmm.
be the IRS calls or Revenue Canada calls. It could be romance scams. You've heard of those
Mm-hmm.
as well. There's tech fraud. Something's wrong with your computer. I need a password. I need your bank information, whatever it is. And so we
Mm-hmm.
really have to be able to protect against those. And sometimes I've heard of situations where elderly have been scammed. Of course, the child or the adult child did not know. And now they're trying to now they have extra stress because they're trying to unravel the issue that their
Mm-hmm.
parents have got into and
Mm-hmm.
losing money. Maybe some of the money that their parents had,
Mm-hmm.
some of that money was going to go towards their care. And now that money's gone. Extra
Mm-hmm.
stress, extra
That
burden,
is
right?
tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for you know what? Now you gave me an idea. We're gonna have to have a whole different conversation on scams. So we'll
Yeah.
get to that after.
We'll get to that another day.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when we there's something that you said that I really want to hit on. You were saying that sometimes when the financial burden is introduced, you're not able to invest as much as you'd like to because
Hmm.
you're in a position where you now have to kind of divide the funds.
Right.
So my question is what do you do in a situation like that? Like, do you continue to just try to put whatever investment it is, like even if it's scaled back, do you hold? Do you what do you do in a scenario like that?
Sure. The answer is always yes. As in, yes, you continue to invest
Mhm.
because there is something some people call, I can't remember who it was. It could have been Einstein. I believe it was
Mhm.
Einstein. He said that compound interest is like the eighth wonder of the world.
Mm.
So, because it's basically interest is helping you make money on your money. And if you stop putting money into your investment, then you lose a lot of that compound interest effect. So
Mm.
if you're, I don't know, putting aside $200 a month, you can't do that anymore, $500 a month. Even if you scale it down all the way to just 20 or $25, it seems
Mhm.
insignificant, but that
Mhm.
can still make a big difference overall in terms of not only interest and compound interest and building, but also dollar cost averaging. So your money can continue to grow. Right. So that's
Right.
something that's really critical for you to do. So don't stop. Just scale it down.
Scale it down. Okay, that's important. That's important. So, moving on to the next question, it's
Hmm.
how do people reduce out of pocket caregiving costs? Um, we know you hit the nail on the head in talking about changes to the home that may need to be done. Of course, buying
Hmm.
additional materials, maybe even
Hmm.
paying for respite care, a
Yes.
home care provider to come in. How do you manage that
Yeah.
now? How do you take care of those
That
costs?
that's a harder one, and that's a challenge for everybody.
Mhm.
And it's really important that you take a step back, take a breath, and kind of go through things. So each of us have our own individual skills, and there's a lot of government programs, there's community resources out there, nonprofits that all offer support that can help. So that can help kind of minimize some of the cost on some things. But also, look and see if there's any flexible work options at your workplace. Sometimes you might have to change your job to have something that's a little bit more flexible. I
That's a
talked about
good
it a
one.
moment ago in terms of our talents.
Yeah.
Sometimes doing some freelancing. We all have different talents, whether it be writing or singing or teaching piano, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Focus on some of the skills that you might already have, and that could be an area that you can actually make income from,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Because you have to be able to just be creative in terms of ways. Also, you have, in many cases, other family
Right.
members, right? So you're not necessarily sharing, doing everything yourself. You can share some of that burden in terms of cost and time. And those things kind of help. So just trying to maintain and figure, as opposed to getting all stressed about it, and it's not going to be something that's going to be easy, but there are different ways. So again, community programs out there, the government programs, there's not-for-profits out there, changing your schedule, changing your job if need be, getting a part-time job, and just trying to see if you can get flexibility. Also, using some of your own skills and talents that you have to make an extra income. All of these things can actually really help.
all excellent tips, and I'm going to go through each one. So you mentioned government programs. I remember when mom was first getting interviewed, we were being interviewed as a family. They were
Hmm.
asking about what our needs were.
Hmm.
I remember dad requested, we need respite care. At the time, we had no idea that simply reaching out to the Alzheimer's Association or Society here in Canada,
Yeah.
that there are government programs that
Yeah.
are available where we were able to get respite care. I believe is up to 10 hours per week at no charge. So
Exactly.
I always say to people when they ask those questions, like, do you have respite care or are you paying for whatever? The government will assist in part for respite care. We currently have it. On Tuesdays for 4 hours. You can spread it out if you need to. They will help with showering. They'll help with feeding. They'll help with getting dressed. A lot of those things. So that's one. Thank you for that reminder. You
Hmm.
mentioned flexible work options.
And remote
Now,
work. Yeah.
yes. Yes, and remote work.
Hmm.
This is a great option. You cut down on cost with traveling,
Yes.
right? You cut down on time with traveling, which is great. And I remember this from university days. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. There's this friend that always used to
Yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
And what
Yeah.
that is just making the request. Just
Yeah.
make the
Make
request. The
the
worst thing that you can hear
no,
is no, right?
and you keep
Yeah.
on going because there
Yeah.
are services, there are things out there that can definitely help you out. Yes.
Yeah, and human resources at your job is meant to help in those situations, right?
Hmm.
So talk to human
Yes.
resources, talk to your boss and see what can happen there.
Absolutely. There's many different companies. A lot of people don't recognize there's a lot of different companies that have really extended and very beneficial paid leave programs out there.
Well,
And a lot of people just assume that, yeah, I probably can't get the time off. I just got to work through it. But you'll be very, very surprised that there are caregiver support benefits at many employers. You just have to
mm,
ask.
Thank you
Hmm.
for that. That was really good.
Hmm.
You said this is really key. Focus on skills that you already have. Now, that is a
Hmm.
big thing, especially right now. I find in recent years, people are starting to tap into or develop or learn of skills that they had
Yes.
laying dormant, didn't know that they actually had already. But nowadays, having a second income, side hustle, whatever you want to call
Hmm.
it, is
Yeah.
almost mandatory in
Yeah.
this economy,
In this
right?
economy, we're hearing about tariffs and everything
Yeah,
else now.
yeah,
It's definitely going to be mandatory. Yeah.
right.
So we all have different skills. We just got to tap into them. There's even investments out there. A lot of times we're talking about investments in retirement and so on. There are investments in whether it be private or public, like, the different dividends and different REITs and things of that nature, where they will pay you an investment, an actual amount every single month with the money that you have. So you
Mm-hmm,
can, instead of having to work, for example, to get extra money,
mm-hmm,
just by putting your money in a certain investment vehicle, you can actually get a monthly income every month for that to supplement your other income from your job
oh,
or your side hustles and these things. So, looking for different ways in which you can get that passive income, all of those things are going to help. And I
mm-hmm,
talk to some of
mm-hmm.
my clients about those things as well.
No, that's awesome advice. Thank you for that. So anybody who has questions about that, talk to Craig. That's not my specialty. He knows more about that stuff, so you can talk to him about those dividends.
Mhm.
Um, and also, sometimes the question will be like, well, I'm really limited on time. There's no way that I can uh try to focus and hone on a skill when I'm already pressed for time. So
Right.
when you mention those dividends and those type of investments, that's a very that's a not non-time consuming way to go
Yes.
after making
Yes.
additional income.
Just,
So
just
that's good.
passive income
Yeah.
coming in each month, right? And
No,
then you
that's
could get
good.
your time back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's necessary.
Hmm.
And yeah, you said part-time jobs. So those are all really good examples of what we could do if we have out-of-pocket costs for
Exactly.
caregiving. So thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. And what are some key financial strategies for caregivers? Key financial strategies for caregivers.
Well, really, one of the first things you want to do when it comes to finances in general, doesn't matter who you are, caregiver, non-caregiver, making a crazy six-figure income or making something, much less, you have to budget, right? You have to have a budget. Some people call it a spending plan because budget makes them feel all funny, but you have to budget your
Mhm,
money. You have to know what's coming in, what's going out. And if you already had a budget, great, you have to redo it because now you have extra expenses that you didn't have before. So if you're budgeting and tracking, you're identifying different assistant programs, you're setting about boundaries in terms of what you spend on, right? We all know about the 50-30-20 budget. 50%, of course, is money going towards your needs, and 30% going towards your wants, and 20% going towards investment and
mhm,
savings. Well, we already talked about we might have to adjust the savings and investment component, not stop, but adjust it.
mhm,
But
mhm.
now, and of course, you have your needs, like things that are just non-starters, like you have to pay your mortgage, you got to pay for your car, and things of that nature. But it's your wants.
Mhm,
It's those investments, not investments, but those purchases that you make
mhm,
that you don't really
mhm.
need. Those impulse
Yeah,
buying. You have to be able to curb some of those things and really focus on pushing more of your money towards your areas of needs, right? The things that are non-starters can't change, and you must pay them each and every month.
I
So
think
really looking at that.
sorry, I think our US friends are doing a bit better. No more Target. Those are
Yeah,
people who are boycotting Target. A lot of people are like, oh my goodness, there's more money in my account now. So
yeah,
those are some of those unnecessary, the wants that are
absolutely.
not necessary, right? So
Absolutely.
sorry, I cut you. I
No,
cut
that's
you. Go
okay.
ahead.
It's
You're gonna say
okay.
something.
That's okay.
Okay.
Even things like insurance. Like, I mean, depending on the type of insurance, obviously we have long-term care insurance and life insurance and living benefits insurance. Some of those things can give you back some money.
Mhm.
If you have a term insurance, I mean, you're just paying for your term for your life insurance. But many people have a permanent type of insurance, universal type of insurance, some that have participating dividend that you actually have money you can actually take
Right.
from. So you have to understand the kind of policies you have. Talk with your advisor, the person that sold that insurance policy to you, and understand what you have and what you might have access to. Um, you also have the pros and cons of home care versus assisted living, right? What makes
Mhm.
sense, right? Does it make
Mhm.
sense to have someone in your home that lives with you that can assist you and help you
Good
while
point.
you're working, or someone that comes in from time to time and just assists you at certain times of the day or certain times of the night or the morning, right? There's different options out there.
I want to
Um,
hit on that too. I
sure,
want to
go
hit
ahead.
on that too because so and this is going to segue into another conversation that we're going to have to put on pause,
Okay,
but um you mentioned crunching the numbers. Does it make sense to have someone come in the home versus possible placement and things like that down the road?
right.
Now, we've always been told over and over, especially culturally, let's reference that, where we don't
Okay.
do those things, right?
Yeah,
We don't place our loved ones in homes and so forth. Now,
yeah.
for some, life is changing. It for some, it's just not doable to have your loved one at home, but also it's the cost. Like, we've been positioned or conditioned to believe that it's actually less expensive to have someone around the clock at home,
Mhm.
but in many cases it's not. In
It
many
could be cheaper
cases
sometimes. Yeah.
it could be, but in many cases it's not
Yeah.
cheaper. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
so it's important, as you're mentioning, the budgeting aspect, crunching those numbers, do your research to find out what
What
is,
you can afford.
yeah, what you can afford and what works best for your family, really
Mhm.
looking at
That's
all
true.
circumstances,
Right.
right? So that's
Right.
right. Now, going back to the budgeting part, I it's a conversation too. Some people have just kind of had their finances, they come in, they pay their bills, but there's no real structure in how they're budgeting. Is this something that you can offer people, just like how to actually crunch what they're expenses are versus their savings, what they want to put aside for savings or whatever. Is that something you can walk people
Oh
through
yeah,
if they reach out to you?
absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. There's basically three things that I can offer to help. So one, it could be like a coaching session. We kind of go through these things and we kind of figure out what your numbers are. So we do it together in a Zoom call. There's also an ebook that I have. So it kind of helps you have an unshakable budget, right? It tells you
Mm-hmm.
exactly step by step what to do in terms of having a budget that works for you. Because most people, like I said at the top of the call, even the word budget like makes them all nervous and getting inside, right? But if
Right.
there's a way to actually do things properly, consistency, you get to a point, you don't even have to look at the budget anymore. It basically just takes care of itself, but you have to be able to set it up properly. Right. So that's
Mm-hmm.
one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And also,
Mm-hmm.
of course, there's a free budget that I have that I've created. So if anybody wants one, they just contact me. I can send it out to you. There's no cost for it. And you can just plug in the numbers. There's different formulas in there. So you can actually add up like what you're making, what your expenses are, and make adjustments as you go. Also, it'll show you if you're within that 50, 30, 20% in terms of how you're spending your money each month and make adjustments accordingly.
Oh,
So
perfect.
absolutely, I can help you with those things.
Okay. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, I guess you kind of touched on this. How can I continue earning money while caregiving? And should I pause my retirement? You kind of touched on that, right?
Yeah, I
Pausing
kind
my
of touched on it
retirement.
a little bit as
Yeah.
well. But
Yeah.
we can talk about, I can maybe just mention some other strategies that people can look at. For
Mm-hmm.
example, when it comes to finances and our overall well-being of money, like we get statements and documents and we just put them aside and we don't even really know what they are, what they say, and how they can benefit and when to use them and when not to use them. I think it's really important to keep those documents accessible so you know what it is that you're looking at because might need to make some changes and adjustments. Wills, of course, are really important. Power of attorneys. We talked about earlier scams, right? So if you have powers of attorney, for example, that's going to help you in terms of maybe having a wayward person come and take your parents' money and
Mm-hmm.
move it some places. I've heard of situations
Yeah.
really, really sad.
Yeah.
I've heard of a situation where there was a
Mm-hmm.
caregiver that got their name on a bank account for her actual patient
Mm-hmm.
without the caregiver, the child, knowing about it. So, and
Mm-hmm.
they were accessing money at all times. But if you had a power of
Wow.
attorney and those kinds of things,
Mm-hmm.
those things would protect you. So you
Mm-hmm.
need to be able to get those things in place and then make sure you speak to the lawyer to make sure they're set up correctly so you
Mm-hmm.
can avoid scams or just unscrupulous people trying to get into your life and mess things up for your family. So these are the strategies we have to look at. This is not the time. I understand it's a very stressful time. We understand, like we've been there, right? But you have to, again, take a moment, take time, and just go through kind of a checklist to
Mm-hmm.
make sure that all the areas are taken care of, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
budgeting, whether it be
Mm-hmm.
income, whether it be programs, legal documents,
Mm-hmm.
all those things. You really
Mm-hmm.
want to make sure that you have those and
Mm-hmm.
have those open discussions with your family
Mm-hmm.
because you
Mm-hmm.
kind of have your own family of your own. You have a spouse, you have children, you have
Mm-hmm.
siblings. You might have
Mm-hmm.
nieces or nephews or uncles or aunts.
Yeah.
Have those discussions and make sure everyone's on the same
Yeah.
page so everyone knows what's needed. People know what you need and what you're struggling with. If you have those open discussions, then people can jump in and be able to help where needed and even
Mm-hmm.
offer additional advice and help where you
Mm-hmm.
didn't even think it was there. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So these are just some of the
Mm-hmm.
strategies we can definitely use as caregivers.
No, that's important too because I know there are a lot of adult children who don't even live in the same state or province
Hmm.
of their loved one, and they can be left vulnerable without having these wills and power of attorneys in place. So thank you for touching on that.
That's right.
So that's good. Well,
Hmm.
you know what? We really tried to keep this in 30 minutes. I think we managed. We came
I
on about
think so.
7:10.
Yeah.
So that was good. All right. So I just want to leave everyone with a couple things. Some of the resources we kind of touched on the Alzheimer's Association or Society, depending on where you on. Society is here in Canada. Association is in the U.S. Please, please, please reach out. I've been in contact with both sides, and they say that they are underutilized, and they're
Mm,
underutilized by us, right? And they, believe it or not, because I'll tell you this, even though I have a healthcare background, I never thought of them initially to
mm,
reach out to them, because I traditionally felt they would not understand us. They have nothing in place for our our families, black families, right? So I just never thought about it, but it was the Holy Spirit who just said, call and see what it is. And that's when we ended up getting the respite
that's
and
right.
everything else in place for mom. So please, that is one resource you absolutely have to tap into. Another one is the Caregiver Association. We've recently been in contact, and they also provide support for you as the caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
And they also have a little subdivision for people of color, Black families as well. Our needs are a little different. They are unique. So, they try to reach us in that way as well, but more so just providing support to us. So those are the two things that I can definitely say, begin with. And I say this too, I really want to caution our caregivers, because I don't know, did you see recently Gene Hackman? Did you see that?
Yes, I
Gene,
did. Apparently, he died, of course, we know this, but the main thing is he was dead for several days, at least a week. Yeah,
weeks. Yes,
yeah.
he and his wife.
And his
And
wife. Yeah.
again, guys, this is the importance of building community and networking
That's right.
together. This is what this group is about. We want to build community so that way we can also check in on one another, because weeks going by, I'm not placing judgment on that family, but weeks
Yeah.
going
That
by
shouldn't
without being
happen.
checked on, yeah, it
Shouldn't
just
happen.
shouldn't happen. It shouldn't
Right.
happen. So in any case, yeah, we want to make sure that we're taking care of ourselves in all areas. We're taking care of ourselves in health, spiritually, emotionally, financially. This is what we're speaking about today, and just trying to build each other up. So
That's
thank you,
right. You're not
Craig.
alone. You're not
Mhm,
alone. And no matter what you're going through, trust me, you are not unique in your situation.
mhm,
There are
mhm,
people that are struggling in all kinds of ways, in different ways. But if you reach out, like your help is really just a phone call sometimes or an email away.
mhm,
So yeah, let's build that network. Like let's make
mhm,
sure that we recognize each other and
mhm,
recognize we're all going through it and
mhm,
we all need you need help. We don't want to burn out. Like, and that's what
mhm.
happens to a lot of caregivers. They burn out because
Yeah.
they're already juggling their own lives, their own family, their own ambitions, and all of a sudden it's like, I didn't ask for this. Now I got to take
Mhm,
care of my parent. But it's
mhm,
something we have to do. But if you feel that you're alone in the situation, it'll just make it feel worse.
mhm,
When you recognize there are people, there are
mhm,
communities, there are
mhm,
associations and companies out there ready to help, ready to step in, um, utilize them.
mhm,
Take
mhm.
the step and utilize them and make that phone call, email, get in touch. And those people will then, of course, be able to know to reach out to you as well.
That's it. Thank you so much, Craig. Now, how do people reach you besides me calling
Well,
you every five
yeah,
minutes?
yeah. Well, actually, the easiest way is just to go to my website. You can go
Mhm,
to www at goodmoneyskills.com. I know a
mhm,
lot of people don't say the W anymore, but goodmoneyskills.com.
mhm,
I'm on YouTube. I'm posting different videos all the time about different things, which is just
mhm,
also Good Money Skills. And of course, you can just send me an email. So if you have any questions, any concerns at all, just send me an email at Craig, and it's Craig with an E. Don't forget the E. So CRAIGE at goodmoneyskills.com.
mhm, mhm. Okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much. If anyone here is watching, we have a couple people. If you have any questions, feel free to type them now before we
Absolutely.
exit. Craig is here. If any of this resonated with you, feel free to drop a quick question. If not, if anything comes to mind, even after we have ended here, there's always space available in the comment section to leave a question, and I'll make sure Craig will answer directly to you.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
we just earlier we talked about having a like a budget and some of the resources. Again, if you just go to
Mhm.
my website, you
Mhm.
can download the ebook. You can sign up to my weekly I guess tips, if you will, and all of those things are free. And of course, the email is always free.
Yeah, yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Thank you for your time today. Thank you for watching, everybody. We will be back here likely next week with another special guest as well. Okay.
All right,
Thanks, Craig. Thanks for your
no
time.
problem.
All
Take care,
right.
everyone. All right,
Ciao. Bye
bye.
bye.
Bye.